Celebrity medium Tyler Henry is recovering after undergoing brain surgery. The Hollywood medium star reveals on Instagram May 14th that he'd been diagnosed with a colloid tumor near the center of his brain.
Few stories strike a chord quite like facing life-threatening health battles just days after the happiest moments imaginable. Imagine getting married one week and then undergoing brain surgery the next, a shocking twist that shattered Hollywood medium Tyler Henry's world and tested his spirit in ways his fans never expected. What happens when someone who bridges two realms, the living and the dead, confronts the fragility of their own life? Tyler's recent health updates, raw and heart-wrenching, reveal a side of him rarely seen on screen. One filled with courage, uncertainty, and the relentless hope to heal and return to his calling. Tyler's sudden health crisis became one of the most emotional chapters of his public life. In spring of 2025, Tyler Henry experienced a dramatic and frightening medical emergency that shocked both his fans and the people closest to him. Just 7 days after celebrating one of the happiest moments of his life, his marriage, he faced a devastating turning point as his body betrayed him in ways few could have imagined. What had once been subtle symptoms quietly building beneath the surface suddenly escalated into a dangerous condition that demanded immediate attention. The young medium, known around the world for connecting people with loved ones who had passed away, now found himself confronting a threat to his own life. The contrast between the joy of his wedding and the fear of emergency brain surgery created an emotional storm unlike anything he had ever experienced before. What made the crisis even more difficult was the speed at which everything changed. Tyler began struggling with grogginess, mental fog, and a frightening inability to think clearly. At first, the symptoms appeared subtle, but they quickly intensified until they became impossible to ignore. For someone whose profession depended entirely on mental clarity, concentration, and emotional sensitivity, the decline was terrifying. Tyler's ability to process thoughts, communicate, and function normally began slipping away, forcing his medical team to act quickly. Doctors discovered that the colloid cyst near the center of his brain had become dangerous again, creating pressure that threatened his cognitive abilities and overall health. The situation became urgent almost overnight. Only days earlier, Tyler had been surrounded by celebration, love, and optimism while marrying Clint Godwin. Friends and family had gathered to witness a new beginning in his personal life, but suddenly that happiness transformed into hospital visits, consultations, and surgery preparations. Within a single week, Tyler went from exchanging vows to lying in a hospital bed preparing for a life-threatening procedure. The emotional whiplash of that transition was overwhelming. The operation carried serious risks, and the uncertainty surrounding the outcome weighed heavily on everyone involved. Tyler attempted to remain hopeful in his public statements, but those close to him understood the enormous gravity of the situation. Even after the surgery, the battle did not immediately end. Recovery became a difficult and unpredictable process marked by physical exhaustion, emotional setbacks, and moments of uncertainty. Tyler had spent years appearing calm and composed during emotional readings for strangers and celebrities alike, but now the spotlight focused entirely on him. Fans watched as he confronted the deeply human vulnerabilities of illness, fear, and recovery. It was a side of Tyler that audiences rarely saw, a young man struggling to hold on to his identity and purpose while his body fought against him. Throughout the ordeal, Tyler's support system became essential to his survival and healing. Clint Godwin remained by his side through every frightening moment, providing steady updates and reassurance to worried fans around the world. His calm presence reflected deep love and emotional strength, especially during moments when Tyler himself felt uncertain about the future. Together, the couple faced hospital admissions, recovery sessions, emotional exhaustion, and repeated medical procedures. Their relationship became a symbol of resilience, showing how love can endure even under extraordinary pressure. Tyler's honesty during the crisis also deeply affected the public. Rather than hiding the frightening details, he openly shared the painful reality of his experience. He described the confusion, exhaustion, memory problems, and emotional toll that came with multiple brain surgeries and ongoing recovery. These moments of vulnerability allowed people to connect with him on a more personal level. Fans no longer saw only the polished television personality. They saw a human being struggling to heal while trying to hold on to hope. Unfortunately, the medical challenges continued to intensify. Additional procedures became necessary as swelling and recurring cyst complications threatened his progress. Hospital stays became more frequent, and recovery proved slower and more complicated than expected. The entire journey demonstrated the physical and emotional damage that such a serious neurological condition could cause. Yet even in the middle of fear and uncertainty, Tyler continued fighting for both his future and the life he had worked so hard to build. The public began wondering how Tyler managed to endure repeated surgeries while still attempting to maintain his career and public responsibilities. What inner strength allowed him to continue moving forward through such relentless challenges? The answer lies not only in the medical battle itself, but also in the story of his life, his early struggles, and the unusual gift that shaped his identity from childhood. Tyler Henry's life had always been marked by fragility and unusual perception. Born 3 months premature and weighing only 2 pounds and 12 ounces, his earliest days were spent in a neonatal intensive care unit. Those first weeks established a medical history that would continue influencing his life for decades. Premature birth left Tyler vulnerable to numerous complications, many of which would not fully reveal themselves until later in life. One of the most significant hidden dangers was the congenital colloid cyst located near the center of his brain. Present since birth, the cyst quietly existed for years without obvious symptoms. Unlike cancerous tumors, a colloid cyst is benign and filled with fluid, but it can become deadly if it blocks the normal flow of cerebrospinal fluid. For much of Tyler's childhood, the condition remained hidden beneath the surface, silently growing while he lived what appeared to be a relatively ordinary life. Raised in California's Central Valley by his single mother, Teresa, Tyler experienced a childhood shaped by both emotional support and a growing sense that he perceived the world differently than other children. Even at a young age, he sensed things that others did not. These experiences confused him at first, and he often kept them hidden because he could not fully understand what they meant. Still, the feeling that he was somehow different remained constant. At only 10 years old, Tyler experienced the moment that changed everything. He told his mother that he sensed his grandmother would soon pass away. The following night, she died. That experience confirmed for Tyler that his unusual perceptions were real. Rather than feeling dramatic or cinematic, the experience felt strangely natural to him, as though he had finally recognized something that had quietly existed within him all along. Unlike many stories about psychic development, Tyler never actively pursued mediumship. He did not train formally or seek fame through his abilities. Instead, the impressions and sensations simply emerged naturally over time. His mother became one of his strongest supporters, helping him understand and manage the experiences he was having. Teresa sought guidance from psychics and spiritual advisors who reassured them that Tyler possessed a genuine gift. Her encouragement helped transform what could have become fear or confusion into a sense of purpose. As Tyler grew older, his abilities became more refined. Eventually, his readings attracted public attention, launching a career that would later expand into television shows, celebrity readings, and documentaries. Yet beneath the success remained the same fragile health condition that had existed since birth. Shortly after turning 18, Tyler faced his first major medical crisis involving the cyst. Doctors discovered that it had grown large enough to block the flow of cerebrospinal fluid and create dangerous pressure inside his brain. Without surgery, the condition could have resulted in severe brain damage or death. The situation demanded immediate action. At just 18 years old, Tyler underwent a craniotomy to remove part of the cyst and relieve the pressure. For someone whose future would depend so heavily on mental clarity and emotional sensitivity, the risks were terrifying. Yet at the time, the ordeal remained largely private. There were no headlines or television interviews discussing his struggle. It was simply a deeply personal battle for survival. The operation succeeded in stabilizing his condition. Pressure inside his skull eased, and the cyst's growth slowed significantly. For nearly a decade afterward, Tyler enjoyed relative stability. During those years, he built his career, gained public recognition, and became one of the most recognizable mediums in modern entertainment. His television show Hollywood Medium introduced him to millions of viewers. Through celebrity readings and emotional conversations with grieving families, Tyler developed a reputation for compassion, calmness, and sincerity. While skeptics questioned the authenticity of his abilities, supporters admired his empathy and the comfort he brought to others. Tyler often described mediumship not as entertainment, but as a serious emotional responsibility. He explained that readings required enormous mental focus and emotional energy. Rather than dramatic visions like those often portrayed in movies, Tyler described his process as a deep intuitive awareness involving impressions, emotions, and subtle mental connections. The work exhausted him physically and emotionally, sometimes leaving him drained after long sessions. His Netflix documentary Life After Death with Tyler Henry revealed an even more personal side of his work. Through the series, Tyler explored not only the experiences of others, but also unresolved mysteries within his own family history. One especial,